Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to my review of When the Game Stands Tall. I cannot remember the name of this movie for some reason. I don't know why.
It's a long name.
I got my good friend here, Daniel Day-Lewis, and we are bringing you our review. We just saw the movie.
Yeah.
And, going into this movie, I didn't have much expectations for this movie. I don't usually go for sports movies. They're kind of cliche. They always end the same way in some big game. So I usually don't go for them. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought it was fairly okay. I thought, Danny, what were your thoughts on the initial impressions of this movie?
I would agree, that a lot of the sports movies out there tend to be pretty much the same, especially when it comes to the sports shots of whatever sports event, football game, baseball game, whatever.
Yeah.
The cinematography tends to be fairly
slow motion.
Yeah, I mean they tend to follow the same formula, is what I'm trying to say. But even though there was a little bit of that in here, you know what I mean, some of the slow motion. Oh, is he gonna catch the ball? Some of that stuff in there.
A lot of it.
The football stuff. That's not this. That's not why you would go to see this film. Just from the trailers and knowing a little bit of the backstory behind this. Obviously, this is based on a true story, and it was definitely a Christian film. Make no mistake about that. It's not completely in your face with the Christian tones. It wasn't as strong as, say, like God's Not Dead, where that was right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And it wasn't as apparent from the trailers either.
It wasn't, but again, if you knew some of the backstory about the coach and the team and their history and some of the struggles they went through, I remember seeing some of the interviews, kind of promotional interviews building up to the release of the film. I knew that this was one of those films you go in understanding that this is going to be tugging at the hearts. It's going to be kind of emotional struggle, human story, and coming off of some of the big blockbusters that we've seen this last couple of months over the summer, it was nice to kind of settle down into something a little more mellow, a little more human story, and I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, like you said, the religious aspects aren't like just in your face all the time. It's not like the main, really, theme of the movie. The what's kind of driving the story is really just kind of the events that are the big events that are taking place in some of these team members and the coach's life. So that's what's really driving the story here. From the sports films I've seen, there was actually quite a bit of actual gameplay in the movie.
Right.
And then when there's not gameplay, it's pretty much some kind of a drama going on. Which is, just like any sports movie is like that pretty much. Like the inspirational speeches and stuff were kind of a little cheesy sometimes. You kind of have to be into that sort of thing to really get behind, a coach talking to their team members for the 6th or 7th time, ramping them up again. But overall, the story was actually pretty engaging. I found myself, they made the characters seem pretty real to me, and I think that goes to the fact that it seemed like the filmmakers were really concerned about portraying these characters and the real life events, or getting as much of the real life events in there and getting them accurately. Because at the end, during the credits, you find out that a lot of the coach's speeches are taken.
Spoiler.
Not really. The coach's speeches that are in the movie, like Jim Caviezel says, are taken directly from, like, direct quotes from the actual coach that he's portraying.
Which I thought lended a lot of weight to the story, in that we know several key moments at the very least. Maybe not every plot point, but several key moments actually happened. They really went through this.
Yeah, and so because it is based on a true story and a lot of these events did happen, a lot of people kind of will give it a pass if it's a little bit cheesy on the cheese side, because hey, it really happened. It can't be that cheesy because this stuff actually happened. I don't try to give movies a double standard like that. So for me, it was kind of cheesy, but it's still, the story was engaging enough to be, to hold your attention, kind of fun. It did feel a little long towards the end, but I would definitely say that if you're into sports and the trailers look interesting to you, you're probably going to enjoy this film.
I was more impressed with the film than I anticipated. Again, didn't go into this film with the expectations of, man, this is going to be, a thrill ride of the life, or anything like that. I understood, there's going to be some hardships, some struggles that they would have to get over and fight through as a team and kind of rally the troops and all this. And we have to remember, going to some of the cheesy Sound of speeches and everything, this is a man who, had coached for 25 years in real life. He's given probably 1,000 of these speeches, so some of it is going to be the stuff that you would expect. You gotta pick yourself up and shake yourself off and keep fighting for it and all that kind of stuff. But it's also, the thing that struck me as I was watching the film is, the one hurdle after another that they had to go through, and he was trying to pass this wisdom onto the team that, the way you react to the hardships in life kind of defines you and everything.
Whoa, spoiler alert.
There were, that's in the trailer. Yeah. These are definitely powerful life lessons. This would be a great movie to take, a son or daughter, younger child, maybe not too young, because some of the stuff is kind of hard to deal with. There's a few scenes where we deal with some real world issues that aren't very pleasant.
Yeah.
But that kind of lends to the sincerity, I think, of the film. This isn't going to be some Academy Award winning, best cinematography, best script, best all that. You know what I mean? It's not that kind of film, but it's the kind of film that I personally like to see more of. That, okay, maybe you didn't have 18 A-list actors and the best director ever and huge marketing and great explosions and all this, but you know what, you had a message that people need to hear more of that we don't see very much in Hollywood. And the fact that, for me personally, the fact that it was based on a genuinely inspiring real life story makes it all the more powerful in that delivery. So I really appreciate the film.
Yeah, I think if you have like some teens, this would be a good movie to see. If you're a parent,
youth group, something like that.
Yeah, youth group. If you're just a person, though, I would say this is a
youth group aren't people. That's different.
I mean, if you're just like if you're just wondering if you will like this movie,
yeah,
I would say this is definitely a solid rental, for sure. This is not the kind of movie that I would say, hey, rush out and go see this in theaters right now. It's not the type of movie that you like have to see in theaters,
Right.
Where, I mean, the visuals and stuff, it's more about the message and the themes that they're trying to get out there. It's not about the football. They even say this in the movie just a few times. It's it's not about the football. It's about the team and teamwork and stuff. And I would say that about this movie too. It's not it is about the football. A good portion of it is, but I'm just saying, like, it's not the type of movie that you kind of have to see in the theater, or that you're gonna miss an aspect of it if you watch it at home or something like that. So I would say it's definitely a solid rental, or stream. But if you're into sports and stuff and you really like that kind of stuff, go see in the theater. I think you'd probably like it. If you liked other movies like that Mark Wahlberg one, Remember the Titans, Invincible, Remember the Titans, any of those movies, I think you'd probably
Radio, all those kind of.
Yeah, if you like those movies, I think you'd probably get into this movie. So I'm giving it a 5 out of 5.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I would. I take a little bit different view in it, in that definitely, if you end up waiting to rent this or something, you won't be disappointed when you do rent it. But seeing the big drop in revenue that DVD sales and rentals bring in now to studios versus what they did, in the last decade or two. The amount of revenue that box offices bring on certain movies says a lot to Hollywood about whether or not they're motivated to make more movies of the same kind. So again, going back to wanting to see more films with this type of positive messaging versus some of the counter programming that we see it going up against, like Sin City and stuff like that, which I would not necessarily recommend as far as the messaging that gives.
Hey, we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
we haven't seen it. We don't know.
You haven't seen it yet. I'm not gonna watch it. But I mean, wanting to send that message to Hollywood that, hey, people do appreciate and value this type of programming, I would definitely encourage people to go out and see it. And even if it's not the Ninja Turtles or Transformers or whatever, it is something that I think you're going to enjoy. So for me, I would have to give this a good 8 out of 10.
Well, you have to.
I would.
Hey, if you want to see a good Christian movie, go see God's Not Dead. That's a great Christian movie.
Also a good movie, absolutely.
Yeah. If you want a kind of Christian movie, but that's more about football, then go see. I can't even remember the name of it. When the Game Stands Tall. When the Game Stands Tall.
Honestly, I wouldn't even say this movie's about football. I would say football is really the vehicle that the bigger message travels through in this film. So the football is ever present. You know what I mean? It's there throughout, and obviously there's several parts of it that play an absolutely pivotal role. But it's not really about the football, like the coach says. And you definitely get that movie or that feeling throughout the movie. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you've seen this movie, tell us what you think in the comments, and check back here for more reviews. And I'll see you next time.